Welcome back to the channel. My truck has been overheating, so I'm going to switch out the thermostat today. Let me show you what it's been doing. So that temperature gauge right there is fine if you're going uphill, but I'm driving up flat ground, and that's not a good sign. So like I said, it's the thermostat. Ford updated this in 2021. I'll show you exactly where it's at down here. Let me get a better angle on it so you can see it better. But that's the housing right there. And a lot of people actually remove a lot of stuff to do this, but there's plenty of room to work down there, so I'm going to do it the easy, simple way for you today. So let's get to it. The first thing you're going to want to do is disconnect your battery, because if someone starts this engine while you're working on it, it's not going to be very good because there's not going to be any coolant in the system. To get started draining the coolant, you're going to want a clean container and at least a 1/4 inch hose. I have a 1/2 inch hose here. It works fine as well. You just lose a little bit more coolant. But you're going to look right up here. This is on the driver's side. And do you see that little red thing right there? That's what you're going to loosen up. You're going to get a flathead screwdriver and you're going to loosen it up. After you loosen it up, make sure you take off your radiator cap and it should immediately start draining. So I got 2 containers here. So once this other one's full, I'm going to start putting the coolant into this ice cream container. And again, make sure these containers are both washed out and clean. You don't want to get anything extra inside your coolant. This might take the longest out of the whole project. Once you have emptied a little over a gallon and tightened up the drain valve, you can now work on replacing the thermostat. To prevent as much coolant as possible from getting on your belts and hoses, I put a bag down here so it drains right to the floor. Depending on your F150, you'll have either 2 or 3 bolts. This one has 3. I have a diagram here of the 3 you're going to remove. Do not take out the ones that I've crossed out. To do this, you're just going to take an 8mm socket, and again, they're easy to reach. I'm going to speed up the video just so you don't have to watch me undo these bolts all day, but they'll come out pretty easy. Once they're loosened up, you can do them by hand. So there's the first bolt right there, so let's get the others out. And as you can see, I started on the left side, then I went to the right side. The top bolt I'm actually going to leave in for a minute. You make sure your bag's in the right place and that you're ready to have some coolant come out, then you're going to loosen up the top bolt. Once it's loosened up, you can actually grab it with your hand and hand loosen it the rest of the way. Once you get it to a certain point, you can already see there's coolant starting to come out, so you can reach down there now from the right side and pull it back. And look at all that coolant that came out. This way you put the bag there. That would have all gone on your belts if you didn't have the bag there. And with our lucky day as well, the thermostat actually came loose by itself, so we don't even have to break it off. So you're going to remove the housing, just push it down a little bit, and then you can pull the thermostat right out with your hand. And there we have it. There's the old thermostat. Just examining it right now, it does stick a little bit, so that's probably what was happening, is it was sticking, so the engine was getting too hot. It was still cooling down, it just took a minute to kick in. So let's get the new one now. So here's the new one. Here's the part number from Ford. I always recommend using OEM parts. A lot of people go with the thermostat that opens at the lower temperature. Remember, these engines are made to open at the temperature that Ford set it to, so I would not recommend doing an aftermarket thermostat. Here's the O-ring from the old thermostat. You can reuse it as there's nothing wrong with it, but today I'm actually going to put a brand new one on there, and I'll put a link to that as well. Here's the new O-ring. Here's the Ford part number in case you need to go to your parts store. And we're just going to take it out of the bag and put it on the new thermostat. Well, here's the new thermostat. Ford did update this again in 2021. It looks quite a bit different, but on the new O-ring, you're just going to slip it on over. Be very careful, because if you tear this in any way, it will leak. But just be careful with it. Just work it around, and it should slip on pretty easy. You don't need any special tools or anything, and if you do, you can get a friend or a buddy to help you put it on. There you go, it's on there, so let's get to putting it in the housing. Just like when you took it out, you're going to pull the housing back and down, and make sure you don't get this dirty or anything. You don't want any dirt in your coolant, and once it's in there, it should fit pretty snug in there. Now you can grab one of your bolts and put it in the top just to hold the housing together. Once that's as tight as you can with your hand, you can grab the second bolt and put it in there as well, and then the third bolt. Once you have all 3 bolts hand tightened, then you can grab the 8mm socket and start tightening them up. Make sure you don't go too tight. This is plastic, you don't want to crack it, just snug it up. Once you've finished snugging all 3 of those bolts up, we can reach down here and take this plastic bag out. Once we take the plastic bag out, then we can fill up the coolant and reconnect the battery and then test it out to see how this truck runs now that we've replaced the thermostat. Now we can remove the radiator cap again. And then I actually have this little thing I'm going to use to filter it. Yes, this is a kitchen one. Don't worry, I don't use it in the kitchen. I got it off Amazon just for this. And the reason I use this little strainer is so any contaminants or anything that got in there while we are draining it will not go back into the system. If you do need to use new coolant because your coolant's old, this is the time to do it. Just put new coolant in there and it'll help with the old coolant that you had in there. So this is why I use the strainer. As you can see, there's actually gunk in there. And you'll be surprised how much gunk's in there even if it looks clean. So that's why I use this strainer. I've got the coolant now up to the max fill line. There is still some in the container, but that's okay because we're going to start it up and it's going to go down. So make sure you put the radiator cap back on before you fire up the engine. Once we have that back on, we can reconnect the battery. Just like you took it off, make sure you put it back on. Once the battery's reconnected, we can fire it up. Once your RPMs have slowed down and you don't notice any leaks, you can go inside the vehicle and look at the temperature gauge. When you're inside the vehicle, you want this to actually heat up as much as possible because you want the thermostat to open. After the thermostat opens, it will be really loud as the fan kicks on. This is perfect because there's still no leaks and it's running great. So as you can see, the coolant level has actually come down as well. That's exactly what we wanted. The truck is now cooling like it should. You can now turn off the truck and fill up the coolant once it's cooled down. Hope this helps, and we'll see you all next time.